Today, we're talking about the 26-year-old Missouri teacher that was busted for having relations with her 16-year-old student, only to find out that the student's parents knew about it all along. The American Red Cross has now declared an emergency as they have the lowest amount of blood donations in the past 20 years, and a 16-year-old girl who was kidnapped from her house by her groomer that she met on World of Warcraft. So a Missouri teacher was finally arrested after it has come out that she was having relations with her 16-year-old male student. Haley Clifton Carmack is a 26-year-old teacher at a Missouri high school, and she would actually employ other students to be lookout in the hallways while her and the 16-year-old male student engaged in activities inside her classroom. She was arrested Friday after allegedly fleeing the state after warrants for her arrest came out because of her relations with this 16-year-old student. But that was not where the story ended. The 16-year-old student's dad actually knew about the relationship between his student and the teacher, and he even let them use their house to do the activities. The dad said, quote, "They're gonna do it behind my back anyway. They might as well do it in my house." He even told other witnesses, the students that would be lookout, that he was willing to lie for his son and that he knew about the relationship the entire time. Now, the dad was also arrested on charges of the welfare of his child. Police have now put him under a $50,000 bond. Now, this is for everyone that plays video games online. This 16-year-old girl was groomed by somebody that she was playing with in World of Warcraft, a 31-year-old man from Florida who drove 14 hours to Ohio to take her back home with him in Florida, where his plan was to do inappropriate things with her. Michaela Buckner, 16, was reported missing from her Lima, Ohio home on December 28th, and just 3 days later, she was found at the home of Thomas Ebersole, who she met on World of Warcraft. Thomas said his goal was to do inappropriate things with her and then eventually get married to the 16-year-old. Now, in Florida, that is completely illegal, but apparently Thomas didn't get that through his head as he drove a 2,000-mile round trip to pick this girl up, who, by the way, has scoliosis, and that is what set her parents off looking for her because she can't get up and leave on her own. Somebody would have had to pick her up and carry her, which is what Thomas did because her spine is so curved she can't walk. Police actually went through their Discord messages and found that they had sent hundreds of messages to each other and called each other pet names and expressed their love for each other. Now, her parents are saying that they warned her about groomers her entire life with her being online, but when you get in that situation, he is a predator. Thomas was grooming their daughter, Michaela, and they're warning other parents to start watching their children's online gameplay and their Discord messages. The Red Cross has just announced an all-time low over the past 20 years of blood shortages. The American Red Cross announced that it is experiencing the lowest number of people giving blood in the last 20 years, and right now, the number of people donating blood has dropped by 40%. Now, yes, this has a lot to do with COVID and also people shutting down donation centers inside schools, churches, gyms, and people just working from home virtually. But now the Red Cross is saying with the middle of winter coming and COVID-19 and respiratory illnesses going to rise in the next coming months, right now, having blood is at an all-time high, especially people that give type O blood and those giving platelets. Apparently, type O blood is the most needed out of all the world. The Red Cross said there was nearly a 7,000 unit shortfall in blood donations between Christmas and New Year's Day alone, which can have drastic consequences for people who are in the need of life-saving transfusion. The average red blood cell transfusion is approximately 3 units, and a single car accident victim can require as many as 100 units of blood. The chief medical officer of the Red Cross said, quote, "One of the most distressing situations for a doctor is to have a hospital full of patients and an empty refrigerator without any blood products." A study says that a person in the US needs blood every 2 seconds due to surgeries or accidents. Its availability can be the difference between life and death. However, blood is the only available thanks to the generosity of those who roll up their sleeve to donate. And the Red Cross is actually running a promotion right now that if you give blood, platelets, or plasma in January, you have the chance to win a trip for 2 to this year's Super Bowl. You may have seen on the news yesterday, Ecuador has basically turned into a civil war. People in gangs stormed a live TV broadcast and took the host and its employees hostage. Ecuador's President Daniel Noboa has declared an internal armed conflict in the country, ordering security forces to neutralize several criminal groups accused of spreading extreme violence in Ecuador. The decree came shortly after hooded and armed men interrupted a live television broadcast, one of several violent incidents playing out across the country on Tuesday. Now, people in Ecuador were watching this live. This was not a recorded thing. This did not come out weeks ago. This happened live on TV yesterday as people watched gang members basically take their entire TV station hostage. Ecuador's police later stormed that building and arrested all of the armed men and have now put their pictures on blast, and everyone in Ecuador knows exactly what these punks look like. At least 4 firearms, 2 grenades, and explosive material were recovered and 13 people apprehended. They wanted to enter the studio so that we could say what they wanted. I guess their message, Rendon recalled. Rendon was one of the people that were held captive by this gang. The scariest part was seeing the desperation, seeing businesses shutting down, desperate people, including children and women, running frantically in the streets only meant for cars. The country has been rocked by explosions, police kidnappings, and prison disturbances since the declaration of the nationwide emergency was sent out on Monday after high-profile gang leader Adolfo Marcias escaped from a prison in Guayaquil. Meanwhile, 10 people were arrested after 3 kidnapped police officers were freed in the southwest city of Machala. National Police said Tuesday night. Earlier, police said at least 7 officers have been taken captive in 3 cities since the state of emergency was announced. Right now, there is a curfew from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m., meaning that nobody should be out of their house unless it's for work, and that lasts for 60 days now. As well as the National Guard and the military of Ecuador have been sent to cities to try and ring in these gangs. Parents at a local high school in Brooklyn are furious after their child's school was canceled today on Wednesday because of migrants that were bused from Texas to New York needed a place to stay with the weather coming. The city of Brooklyn decided to not house these migrants in any other buildings, but decided to use James Madison High School in Brooklyn and let students know that they would not be attending any sports or school on Wednesday, as they would have thousands of migrants roaming their school. Expressing outrage, parents said some Midwood community members argued students' classes at James Madison High should have never been moved online to make room for asylum seekers to temporarily shelter in their gym and auditorium during this storm. They said, quote, "It's inexcusable to do this to students of New York City, especially after all they've been through with COVID." Now, city officials have come out and said that this is absolutely unacceptable. This should have never happened. And for them to try and cover their tracks, they actually woke all of these families up at the school at 4:15 in the morning and bus them back to Floyd Bennett Field, which is where they originally came to get out of the wind. People were very confused. Someone said, quote, "I'm sympathetic to migrants to have no idea why they removed them during the night. Those people have kids. 4:15 in the morning, the school is closed anyway. They could have stayed until 6, 7 o'clock. The school was already closed. Why are they moving these migrants at 4:15? Is it just to save face?" Community leaders and elected officials said they can give city a list of empty buildings, not schools, better suited to housing migrants should this happen again. Meanwhile, James Madison High was being cleaned and sports practices were also canceled Wednesday. Again, especially for this to happen in New York, a ton of people are upset that this high school would be closed down to see these migrants housed there. But let me know in the comments what you guys think about any of these stories that we talked about today, and make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and come back tomorrow for another daily episode of the news.